Hello and welcome to Simple Life Philosophy. I'm your host, Ed Raby. This is a channel where you follow along with me on my journey to find a philosophy of life that is both simple to understand and simple to execute on our way to a philosophy of life that allows us to lead a peaceful and productive life. As always, thank you for every share, subscribe. I've had a couple new subscribers recently. Thank you for joining the crew. Welcome to the Simple Life Philosophy crew. Um, but also, make sure you like the video if you like it. It really helps me out when people like stuff because then it gets more play and more people come and join the journey. And speaking of journeys, today is my personal journey post, which it's kind of a vlog post that I do every Thursday. I think I'm going to make that a requirement because right now, every other Wednesday, I meet with my therapist for an hour via the internet. I don't actually go to her office. We just kind of talk electronically. In fact, I've never actually met her in person, but she's definitely influenced my life over the last few years. All total, I think I've been in therapy with her for 3 years, minus. It had been 4 or 5, if it had been minus the year and a half in Texas. So, but recently we kind of made some breakthroughs where I kind of have come to really trust her. She's definitely trying to help me explore my emotions and get through that. So, and that's kind of the main focus of most of the things is me taking the time to talk about my emotions and what I feel. Now, if you meet me in real life, I've said this before, I'm kind of the world champion of masking. And I've had other people that are also autistic comment on this channel. Yeah, me too. I think we all of us autistic people, we have learned to mask our emotions because it's hard. And one of the things I've discovered recently in our last session, this is kind of why I do these, because I want to solidify the progress that I make and have that personal journey posts kind of help me look back maybe a year from now and go, oh man, look how far I've come, and have that be an encouragement to me, or maybe a life lesson. Man, I really thought this was all so important, and now it's not that important at all. So we have this element in my life where I mask a lot of my emotions. If you meet me personally, you might get my witty sense of humor. You might get my very playful, sarcastic sense of irony that I inherited from my grandfather. You might get a nice conversation about what we need to do about whatever problem we're both facing or whatever. But what you won't get is me expressing my emotions all that well. And I have been known to come off cold to people. It's not so much that I'm not feeling for people. It's just I don't really express my emotions that well. And that's due to experiences. That's due to probably being adult autism probably. There's also a lot of practice behaviors from being a Christian. Christians, it's funny how everybody says, oh, you can accept the grace and love of Christ in church, but everybody sure puts their masks on Sunday morning because they don't want anybody to see the real them. Because if you actually shared the real them, you might really be in trouble. So there's that element of constant reinforcement of being a minister too, where I'm constantly asked to be the person that's calm in the room while everybody's, going nuts. And that has reinforced that habit of masking and not showing emotions and so whatsoever. Well, what happens, this is the dilemma I have found myself at various points in my life. My autistic nervous system doesn't like stress. Imagine that. And what stresses it out is usually human beings with various things or various situations or things like that. If I go back to like the end of my last church, I had a lot of things going on. I had the death of a good friend of mine who was also the organist at my church. My marriage wasn't all that great. I was still preaching in the pulpit, knowing full well that I'd been an atheist for 2 years, didn't really believe in anything. You have all these stressors. From my perspective, the church was kind of a dead end, and I wasn't getting anywhere with the church council, trying to improve things so I could make a living at this. And I was really thinking I don't want to make a living at this. I was going to school at the time, so I had all these stressors all convening at once. And what that causes, what we call the triple threat or the threefold cord of troubles for me. Okay, which yesterday my therapist was very instrumental in identifying a couple of these and putting some words to what I'm feeling. Like at the time I felt trapped. Okay, that's one of the cords. I felt very much alone. There was a real sense of loneliness. Even, I was married at the time, come home, still feel lonely, in the church, feel lonely. No way I can confide in my minister friends. So it's like I'm in this on my own. I hadn't yet quite heard of the Clergy Project at that particular time. I kind of heard of them in passing, but I didn't think that they could really help me all that much. Found out I was wrong about that. And then the depression, sadness element, the third string. So you have your loneliness, you have your feeling of being trapped, and sadness, depression. And that's kind of my triple threat that I deal with. And what happens is my autistic system, my nervous system, gets so stressed down that it starts to look for relief. It gets overloaded. It starts to short circuit, and it wants to get that stopped and fixed. And all of a sudden, somebody comes along and starts to listen. And I start talking about my sense of loneliness and and this person listens to me, and it just happens to be a female. That's not a good situation when you're really, really stressed out and you're really facing a lot of things. And one thing led to another. And I don't want to go into that. I don't want to embarrass her or anybody else that's been embarrassed by this already. I just want to focus that that's how that happened. A more recent thing, the triple threat got involved, is when I was in Texas and I'm halfway through the school year, and then I began to experience a great deal of loneliness and homesickness, which is kind of a form of loneliness. I'm alternating between depression, sadness, whatever, and I started to feel real trapped in that situation. Like I've got a contract to fulfill, I've got, but I don't like it here, I don't like the city, I don't like any of that stuff, and I just felt really trapped. And I started to feel this same thing. Well, this time I got a little bit more handle on it, but I had some physiological responses, like some psychosomatic kind of thing, where I end up, nearly passing out a couple times during class, and all this stuff is kind of coming to a head and really pushing my nervous system. Now, with the revelation of autism, I now begin to understand why all this stuff is overloading my nervous system. Without good counseling, without knowing that this is for sure the problem and learning how to deal with it, not having the skills to deal with it, other than what I've done all my life to cope. It overloaded me, and I resigned my position, came back home, found a new job, found a new place to live. A lot of you know that story. You've heard it before. But this is the triple threat. This is the threefold house of troubles for me, okay? And I can handle, like, the depression, what I call the gray on my blog. I can handle the gray if I'm just feeling sad. I can handle a sense of loneliness from time to time, because that doesn't always make me sad. I can handle feeling trapped. It's when they all three start to get together and gang up on me that I'm outnumbered, okay? And that's when I start to lose it. And I start to make bad decisions. I start to look for some, other alternative forms of relief other than the more positive ones, like writing, reading, lifting, gardening now, a few other things that I do to get that relief, and I start to look for things that are not good for me or anything else, because the sense and the need of relief gets higher. And this all comes from the fact that when I'm lonely, I just can't say it. I'm feeling lonely right now. Because here's another thing that I learned. And I was writing on my blog, and it kind of got this thought going, and then talking with my therapist the other day. do I mask from myself? Do I literally hide away my emotions from me because I don't want to face them? It was a troubling thought, but at the same time, it was a very revelatory one. And I ran it by her, and she says, "Oh, absolutely, very possible." And so I'm like, "Well, holy crap, you know, you feel like hemmed in at all sides." And I'm like, I'm starting to feel trapped now by myself. And, but at the same time, now that there's an awareness of it, like today was really challenging at work because the one thing about going back to an old employer that you tried so hard to get out of is that feeling of being trapped comes back a lot. Am I really going to be doing this for the rest of my life? Is this it? And I have a hard time accepting that. So it's like, would it be okay? Yeah. And this is why stoicism, because it's like, okay, I can't change this, but I can change my attitude. Can't change what the situation is sometimes, but I can look to the future and find ways to change down the road. So that's kind of where I put myself. So this it's been a positive, but I've also learned to what to look for. And I'm going to start working a little bit on when I feel depressed in the gray. I can usually say, yeah, I feel depressed. But it's the other two, okay, that I have to deal with. I've talked about the dragon of sadness, but there's two other ones now. And I hope two more don't join it so it becomes like Tiamat. But Tiamat's a fictitious dragon on Dungeons and Dragons, the old TV series, but it's also in the game too. But it's like where it's a dragon with 5 different heads, and just very deadly, demigod status kind of thing. And I feel like that's what I'm growing here. I'm getting something that I don't know. I don't know. I now feel like I'm even more up against it, I guess. I feel like it's even more of a difficult battle. At the same time, I also feel like I have the knowledge to deal with this battle a lot more effectively. So that's kind of where I'm at. And I just wanted to get this out of my head and into some recording of some sort. I don't want to write it because it would take too long and I'd lose half of it. But I hope this also helps somebody out there. You're not alone in your struggles. Okay. I think I want to talk about therapy for just a second. Your peace of mind is worth a lot of money. I know a lot of people, I don't want to spend the money on therapy. Except if you find peace of mind and you find a better way to live and it makes you happier, why wouldn't you spend the money on that? I mean, a large portion of the reason me and my wife stopped counseling was money. And it's like looking back at it says, well, apparently we didn't think our marriage was worth a lot of money, and it should have been worth some money, and worth something to spend to save. And I don't know, when you consider therapy, you'd have to ask what the cost benefit isn't always like right in your face. And for me, I got lucky, okay, because I had a connection through the Clergy Project, and the Clergy Project hooked me up with my therapist, and it has been just one of the most wonderful things to happen to me because she's really guided me through it. And she's not perfect, okay, and she's made some mistakes and openly admits it. That's probably the best thing about her. But it's like we find a way to deep dive into my crazy brain and figure out what needs to be done. And right now, I want to express my emotions better because it makes it very difficult to be romantically involved with somebody if you can't express your emotions very effectively to them. Have good words for it, accurately expressing how you feel and understanding how you feel. Like, if you get involved with somebody, am I feeling love or am I feeling way too anxious for that? No, there's something wrong here because, it's just not working. And being able to make that judgment call, be able to tell when a woman is, interested in you, and then be able to express, yeah, I'm interested in you and in you as well, and be emotionally available for that, is very, very important. And that's kind of where I'm headed down the road. I've got a video planned, actually. I'm tired of dating apps, so I think I may just do a video on this channel, and any woman that comes along can consider it. We'll see. But today I just want to kind of get all that out of my head and get it down on a video, and hopefully a year from now when I watch these videos again, my personal journey, I'll be go, man, I really came a long way. And, you know, what seems so important isn't, and some of the things I didn't think were that important turned out to be, and, you know, this really worked. I'm hoping that's what I say. But thanks once again for stopping by. This has been Simple Life Philosophy with your host, Ed Raby. This is, you know, make sure you like the video if you liked it. Comment below if you have some thoughts for me. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, especially if you've been here 2 or 3 times. You might as well subscribe so you get and hit that notification bell so you get new stuff when it drops. I'm going to keep trying to do my thing, but you know, I also noticed that my last video, you know, 7 tips about setting routines, goals, and all that stuff, did very well. And I think people like those kind of videos where I can share my wisdom, you know, whatever that is, and they can learn from it and not have to make all the mistakes that I make. You know, I think wisdom is just you learn from your mistakes and you apply yourself a little bit better. But you know, I'm going to probably start doing a few of those every week, a couple at least, and that way, you know, start to give the channel more notice. The YouTube algorithm gods tend to reveal themselves from time to time, and that definitely, when I look back at the couple of videos I've done like that, they've been the best ones. So we'll see what happens in the future. Once again, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate every single one of you. I trust that you are also searching for a simple life philosophy of your own. Continue to pursue it and find your own happiness. And I wish you a great day.